All right, buddy. So what's your name? Where are you from, man?
All right, name's Lance. Down here in Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia, man. And salute to you, my fellow Virginian.
Yes, sir.
Look, I seen one of your videos. He's got a YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. What is your YouTube channel name? I can't remember.
It's Big Lance off the yard.
Big Lance off the yard, and he talks about penitentiary content as well. And I seen one of his videos before I knew he even tried contacting me on Instagram. So it kind of worked out perfectly. But when I was watching it, I didn't know too much about where you did your time at. I guess the video I was watching didn't touch into it too much, but you have done time in one of the prisons I did most of my time in, which was Greensville, and you have a very interesting story because you ran with an organization that I have never seen in the prison system of Virginia, but I've heard much about them since I started doing this whole YouTube thing, and I haven't had anyone on to speak about or even claim to be one, and that's DMI, Dead Men Incorporated, correct?
Yep.
And I think that's what I really want to focus on is this prison, man. The prison that we did time together in, or not together at different times. I got out '08. You got out what? When did you say you got out?
I left Greensville in 17, and from Greensville I went to Augusta.
Okay. So you were there fairly recent. Fairly
Yeah.
recent. And I got a lot of questions to ask you because that's a long time, almost about 10 years since I left from there. So I'm sure a lot has changed, especially with DMI, because I didn't see no DMI. I did see a few, AB and, Bloods, of course, a few Crips, but it was mainly Bloods, if anything, and GDs. But let me ask you, what landed you in this damn penitentiary, man? Because, that's a prison where mostly people with a lot of time and violent offenders go to.
Um, this is my third prison bid. And on this particular bid, I was locked up for malicious wounding, a few drug charges. But the reason I was at Haynesville for a couple years, and then got into some gang shit there, called it assault, called it 105 there. Then they attached the gang attached me to it. So they put me in a hole, an emergency ship, me and my homeboys up off of there, split us all up. I ended up at Greensville. And that's how I made it there, man.
Okay. What'd you think of that place? That place was big as shit, wasn't it?
Shit was like a city, man. Like, when I when
I
I
was a little
first rolled up,
intimidated when I seen it, bro.
yeah, like I've been on a couple majors on my last couple bids. I've been to Southampton, I've been to Sussex. But Greensville's a whole different animal, because there's so many dudes on there that the police have no control of that over, not really.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a 24/7 party, man. But only thing about Greensville, when shit gets, when it gets live, it gets live,
It does, man. There's a lot of lifers and there's a lot of gang activity in there for sure.
yeah,
I remember, man, I was fresh out of high school, dude, and I went from Deep Meadows when it was a reception center straight to Greensville, and I was terrified, man. I didn't have a lick of facial hair on my face. I didn't know what I was about to walk into. You know what I mean? That place was huge, though. That's what really, it was just the size of the facility was crazy. I mean, you got to take a bus the visitors have to take a bus just to get to visitation. That's crazy in itself. And let's speak about the guards for a second, man. When I was there, man, there were some dirty, not like dirty as in bad guards. I'm talking about like dirty, like almost every guard there was in the mix with the inmates. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
I was I don't know, you probably saw it on the news, but I was there in the building when all that shit popped off with the female guard, let the fellas in and stabbed
oh, I made a video on that, man. Yeah, they
I
let
was in the
I think it was
I was,
the Bloods.
Bloods. Okay, so when I was there, I mean, dog, it was so many blood members that when they hold their meetings on the yard, man, it's like it's their yard.
It's theirs, man. It's like
It's
that's
theirs.
like not. It's like almost 90% of people in the damn on that side on a certain side of the yard.
Yeah, and I was on 789 side at this time.
Those are the last three, right?
Yeah, that was with and they had turned 8 building into pretty much, if you was validated, if you was STG, that's where you went.
Regardless of who you ran with.
Yeah, and they had pretty much everybody that was in 8 building was a validated member in some form or fashion.
Yeah,
and the whole situation was, they were so deep and so powerful at the time that the COs were being recruited. And I mean, for the most part, man, there was females when they'd walk in, they'd hit that, the guards were doing that shit. And
damn, man, look, I'm listening like I ain't never even lived there for 4 years. You know, I'm interested, man. I love hearing people's stories in the same prison I was in. It
was nuts, dude, and it was to the point where, I mean, obviously they was doing their thing. You know, they was rolling. They were the rollers at the time, and the whole situation was a regular walked up to the female and was like, "Look, I know you're doing this for them. You're gonna do this for me, or I'm gonna blow the spot up." And she was like, "Oh yeah." So next thing you know, and I'll never forget it, dog. I was standing on the top tier. You know how you can look down from the top tiers into the between the gate, into the control booth. And you can see the doors where they come in at.
Yep.
Dude, I looked in there and it was like 10, 12 dudes in there just piled in that bitch. And
you're talking about the story where she allowed the guys to go in there and beat his ass.
Yeah. And they didn't just beat his ass. I mean, they stabbed him about 17 times, man.
Damn.
Like, they started at the top tier. He started running from him. He made it to the bottom tier. And finally, you know, shit got crazy, man. And I mean, the feds were there. They locked us all down. And then after that situation, about, I would say 8-9 months after that, the G's fucking killed somebody.
Really?
Right after that. Yeah, they it was in 8 building, again, same building. Dude, they were jumping them out. You know what I'm saying? And they sent some boys in there to handle the business or whatever. And they just went too far, you know. And the shitty part about it was, now, the kids that went in there, man, was 21, 22 years old, and most of them was going home within a year. And crazy, I just couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? I was like, you fucking stupid. Yeah. I mean, you're stupid.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. I think when you get in an environment like that where there's just no holds barred and the COs aren't really
they ain't COs. Man. They just press buttons and that's it for real. And everything else, they're an inmate, man.
Yeah. You know, you call somebody calls you to the cell, man, you got to go. You got to go. So, and I mean, Greensville is like you said, you know, it's so big that you got to get bused to medical if you're on the wrong side, you know?
Yeah.
And it was crazy, bro. It was crazy. It was one of the craziest places I've been to, man. For real.
Yeah, for sure, man. I've seen some wild ass shit, and some of it I haven't even spoke about. Because dudes I know for a fact they ain't even get caught, for real. Like, when I was there, they didn't have no, what was it? No central AC.
Oh,
you know? Holy shit, man.
Yeah, they got AC now.
Yeah, I heard they got it, but damn, that was treacherous, man. That was one of the worst things I ever experienced, was the summer times in that place, man. You know, let me ask you a few things that might have changed. Because I was I can't even remember. I know there's S1, 2, and 3. Yeah. I know I started off in S1. I can't remember exactly how or when I moved around, but I was moving around quite a bit. For tattooing, man. I kept getting caught over and over and over again for tattoo. I could at least had 20 charges. I almost went to probably Sussex or some shit over tattooing, you know. But luckily, look, this is the thing. When I was in there, I knew I was a short timer, even though I was doing just 4 years, you know.
Yeah.
I knew I was a short timer. You're surrounded by dudes that ain't never going home. You got dudes doing 20 life. And I just made a video on this shit when I have a cellmate that's in there for murder, and then, you know, you're trying to figure out how you're supposed to defend yourself, but you know, you don't want to trick up your time. This shit could be, a lot of dudes is tricking up their time like that because they're being put into these prisons where they probably really shouldn't even be at. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
sure.
4 years surrounded by cats with 20 to life. That shit shouldn't even, they should have their own block away from them dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about a fear value. It's about, hey, you're going to trick up your time if something crazy happens, you know?
It's also the things they're getting sent there for, like you said, tattooing, dirty urines. I've seen dudes when I was at Sussex One, get shipped to Sussex One, and I was seeing dudes coming into that place for, you know, pissing hot or like just dumb stuff, man.
Yeah, they would bump that shit up immediately for dirty urine.
They don't care. They do not care, man.
Nah, and they'll put you right in there freaking next to, you know, dudes doing some heinous shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that, since you said that, let me ask you, when I was there in Greensville, there was no kind of like PC. Were you in the hole over there?
Yeah. Actually, it's the reason I got shipped off of Greensville was because we went to war on the boulevard one day on a Sunday afternoon, right before dinner, coming in off rec with the AB dudes, and you know, because we were pretty much fighting for power at that time, and you know, I had the yard, and I wasn't letting them dudes, you know, because the reason I wasn't was because we had got, you know, the word that they weren't even supposed to be doing that. You know, there was no sanction for that. And the way I took it was people like myself and others who had gone to the trouble to be validated in the right ways into that lifestyle. It was like a slap in the face. So I went on the yard. I told them, man, like, y'all can't be putting clovers on people no more and doing all that stuff because
clovers,
really, you know, the clover with the thing and all that. Yeah.
You told them they can't be putting clovers on nobody anymore.
Yeah, dog. And what's crazy in that, hey, dog, what's crazy in that is within about a week or two, you started seeing these dudes walking around these big black splashes where they had.
They trying to erase them shit. Oh shit! Look, see, when I was in there, I didn't see no AB like that either. I see some guys with some swastikas and shit, but they didn't have no numbers or anything like that, man. They didn't have no say so on nothing of the art. Like you just said, it was all bloods, man, for real. That brings me to another question, because I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't done no Google research or none of that shit on DMI, man. What is that? Is it mainly a white organization or what?
It's mainly for like what you would call urban white dudes, man. You know, like it's mainly for white dudes that ain't racist. You know what I'm saying? That's not into that whole race thing. And the dude that started it, one of the three guys that started it, was actually trying to be a part of the BGF, which is Black Guerrilla Family, but he was a white boy. So they were like, nah, you know, our laws and things say that you can't do that, you know. So, but we'll back you if you want to. The dude was so thorough that, you know, they allowed him to, you know, BGF at one point ran the Maryland system.
Yeah.
And they allowed this guy to start this organization, man. And I mean, they were treacherous. And they slowly started to trickle down in Virginia, man. You had dudes that were claiming it that weren't supposed to be claiming it too. And, you know, I got put down, and me and one of my homeboys at the time, we used to be homeboys. We, you know, ain't no more, but we actually shot out letters to the federal system to one of the guys that started it. And that's how we got sanctioned to do it. So we were right.
Yeah.
And it was more along the lines of, you know, just being, you know, self-organized, self-reliant, and doing our own thing, man. You know, we didn't want to be part of, like, clicked up with no ABs.
Yeah. I had a guy on the other day. He did time in Philly, and he said DMI was pretty much like contract hit crew for Black Guerrilla Family.
Right. I mean, yeah. At the beginning stages of it, that's exactly what it was. That's how we made money. You know, that's how they supplied the organization. You know, there were a bunch of gangster ass white boys that didn't care. You know,
They just want that money, dog.
They just want some bread. They want a lot of them are dope fiends. You know, Maryland is a dope capital.
Hell
At
yeah.
one point, Baltimore was it. So there's a lot of that's another reason why there's so many problems within that organization because there's just a lot of crazy dudes, man. You know, it ain't like, and I'm sure you saw it. You had these, when it comes to white dudes in organizations in the Virginia system. Now, I can't speak on out west, you know, and I get a lot of stuff on my channel about that, you know, and people are like, well, we heard that prison's segregated. And I'm like, listen, it's not like that out here. You know what I mean? Like we are in a sense, but
that's why I said there is a form of separation.
Yeah.
When you get in there, you're gonna see more white guys hanging with white guys. You know what I mean? There's a sense of that separation, regardless if you go into penitentiary, man.
You're gonna be around who you're comfortable with. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And if, you know, I've seen it get tense between races on these higher levels and stuff like that, but never to the point where like we're slaying each other like they do out in Pelican Bay. You know, them dudes out there on a whole different type of time, man.
Yeah, dude, it's just a whole nother structure system.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of guys out there, and you know, it's rough. But out here, I mean, you got white dudes in every organization. I've seen white bloods. I've dealt with white GDs, Cribs. I mean, it ain't like that, you know. So, but it's as far as the politics went with me, you know, I rose up to the top pretty fast. I wasn't scared to put it in work, and I devoted my life and almost actually caught about 20 more years because of it. When I was at Greensville,